Okay, the first topic we've got in Year 11 Maths methods is linear equations. So this stuff's really things that you've done before, and it's kind of pretty much expected that you are able to do this. So we'll just spend a couple of weeks on this and then have an assessment on it at the end. So this lesson, we're just looking at solving, so let's have a look at some examples. So you might want to solve some equations. So first one, and we want to solve for x. And so the first one, for example, 3x plus 4 equals 16. And so we're going to solve that. So using our BODMAS in reverse, so when we're undoing things, remember doing the opposite. So we need the x by itself, so first of all we'll remove the 4 by taking 4 from both sides. So then we get that 3x is equal to 16. Then divide by 3 both sides. So if I made a mistake there, hopefully you've picked that up, because 16 minus 4 is not 16, but rather 12. And so then the 3's cancel on the left, and on the right 3 goes into 12 4 times. Alright, next one we might have x's on both sides. So this, for example. So first of all, we need the x's on both sides. Well, we've got the x's on both sides. We need them on one side, and it doesn't really matter which one you move. But I'm going to take 3x from this side and from the other as well. So 4x take 3x leaves with x plus 3 equals -5, and then of course take 3 from both sides means that we just got x on the left, and then that of course then is -8. We could have some brackets, so like this, for example. Alright, so there's two ways that we could do this for this particular one. Not always the case, but this particular one, because 3 goes into 27, we could divide by 3 both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'll split this down the middle. So if we do the divide by 3 both sides one, then we'll have 2x plus 5 equals 27 divided by 3, which is 9. And then rearrange, take 5, 2x is equal to 4, divide by 2 both sides, and x is equal to 2. Now, so if this number here is a factor of that, we can do that. If it's not, then what we need to do is expand the bracket. So then we get 6x plus 15 equals 27. Then we undo everything, take 15 to remove it. So 6x then would be 12, then divide by 6, and then so x is equal to 2. So you get the same answer. Alright, so sometimes if it's a factor, you can use the left-hand side, otherwise you need to do the right hand. Alright, then we've got some things where we might have, say, some fractions. And so I'll do an example. So here's an example with some fractions. X minus 3 over 2 minus 2x minus 4 over 3, and that equals 5. All right. Now, whenever we've got denominators, fractions, it makes life a little bit difficult. So we want to try and get rid of them if we can. So in this case, we've got a 2 and a 3, and 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So the strategy that we can use then is this one. Because 2 times 3 equals 6, if I then multiply everything by 6. Now, over here, 2 goes into itself once and it goes into 6 twice. 3 times, I should say. In the middle, which then leaves me with, for that particular first term, and I'll do it in blue, so for this term here, I've now got 3 outside of x minus 3. Alright, the next term, 3 goes into itself once and into 6 twice. So what I then end up with, and I'll do that in the red, is minus 2 outside of 2x minus 4. And there's no cancelling on the next one, 6 5s are 30. Alright, so what we then need to do is expand our brackets. So we've got 3x minus 9, minus 2 times, that is minus 2x squared plus 8 equals 30. Combine our like terms, 3x minus 4x, and I have to go to the next page. So 3x minus 4x is minus x. So that's that. Then we've got minus 9 plus 8, which should be, I think, minus 1. And that equals 30, I believe. Alright, so if we then add 1 to both sides, then I'll get negative x is equal to 31. Now this minus out the front here, what it means is minus 1 lot of x. So if I want to remove that, divide by negative 1, and so then you get x is negative 31. Alright, that's that example. Alright, next example. So here's one with just letters. These are called literal equations. Letters, no numbers. Alright, so example for a literal equation is ax plus b equals cx plus d. And the same rules apply by undoing things. So again, we've got x's on both sides, we need them on the one side. So I'm going to take cx from both sides. I'm going to do two things at once here. I'm going to remove the b from the left-hand side by taking b. So when I do that, I've got ax minus cx equals d minus b. And now hopefully you notice that there's an x here that's common. So if it is, I can take it out as a common factor, and then I'm left with a minus c. Now then the last thing I need to do, is because we're after x, is to remove this bracket here. And I'm going to do that by dividing by a minus c. Cancels here. And so x is equal to d minus b over a minus c. Alright. So then of course we can got to do some words and change some words into some equations, and then solve. So let's have a look at an example or two on that. Alright, so here's an example. So a chef used the following rule for cooking turkey: 30 minutes for each kilogram of the turkey, and then it says, then add an extra 15. And then if the chef forgot to weigh the turkey before cooking it, but knew it had to take 3 hours, calculate how much it weighed. All right, so we're going to get there down the track. But for the moment, we need to turn this first bit into a sum. So if I use, say, X for the kilograms, so each kilogram I'm going to use X to represent that. So 30 minutes, so for every kilogram, so for every X, we need 30 minutes, so that's 30 times X. And then add an extra 15, and so then add an extra 15. All right, so the last bit on the end here is that we knew that it took 3 hours. So the time is 3 hours. Now, you'll notice here it's got hours, but over here we had minutes. So 3 hours is 3 times 60 is 180 minutes. So we need to put that in somehow. So if this is the time, 30x plus 15, and we know that that was 180 minutes, we can then solve that equation. So take 15 from both sides, so 30x would be 180 minus 15, which is 165, and then divide by 30, and we might need to get our calculator in there to get that. So x in goes 5 times is 150 plus another 15, so that's half an hour. So 5.5, not half an hour, half a kilogram. 15, it's half a 30, I should say, so half a kilogram, 5.5 kilograms. All right, let's do one more. Areas of rectangles and squares and things like that are popular kind of questions to have these words, so let's do one of those. Alright, so it says to find the area of a rectangle whose perimeter is 1.08 metres if it's 8 centimetres longer than it is wide. Alright, so I've got a couple of things. First of all, one's in metres, the other's in centimetres. So we need it in both, in the same. So the easiest thing is to change the metres to centimetres so that we're not working with, some small decimal numbers. So because there's 100 centimetres in a metre, that would be 108 centimetres. Now, for me, I always think these things are easier if we look at a diagram. So here's our length and here's our width. And what we're told here in the second part, down here, it's 8 centimetres longer than it is wide. So the length then would be the width plus 8. So the width plus 8 centimetres. All right, so what do we know? Well, we know a couple of things. What we've got to find in the end is the area. So this here, find the area. But at the moment, what we know is we know the perimeter of it. So the perimeter, of course, is the distance around the outside. So we've got another width over here. We've got another length, which is width plus 8 here. All right. So what do we got? Well, if we add all of those up, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 W's. So the perimeter is 4 W's, plus, well, we've got an 8 here and an 8 here, so that's 16, and we know that's 108. Alright, so if we solve that, take 16 from both sides, then 4 lots of the width will be 108 minus 16, which would be got what it is. Alright, 92, of course. Then we're dividing by 4. And 4's cancel there, so the width would be 92 divided by 4. When you figure that out on your calculator, you'll get to 23. And so the length then is the width, which is 23 plus 8, which is 23 plus 8 is 31, I believe. And so we were asked to find the area, so our area is 23 times 31, which would be 713 square centimetres. Alright, so in your linear equations work plan, so looking at your work plan, so on the work plan, there's, so it says constructing and solving, and so there's some exercise 1A questions, and there's some exercise 1B questions as well on your mentioned on the work plan. So if you found this, you'll be able to find the work plan. So good luck with that, and don't forget, if you've got any problems, make sure you ask.